Hey everybody, welcome to Monday Night Live in Lexington.
First of all, thank you all for being here as well. My name is Rachel Harris. I'm the adult programming coordinator. Miss Kathryn Kauffman, all the way from Lexington, joining us here tonight.
This is my every Monday night live show. My name is Kathryn Kauffman and I'm a psychic medium here in Lexington, Kentucky. Welcome. Tonight's topic is going to be the Fibonacci sequence and the golden ratio. Before we get into those topics, I want to do a couple of shout outs and some Chinese New Year stuff. Hey to Melissa, Arthur Woosley, Michael Fess, Tricia Langley, James, Jennifer, Chantel, Melissa Begley, big kiss to you, and Miss Cleo, Scott Harden, Leanne, Corey, and Stephen. Hey Stephen, what are you cooking tonight? And Philip Travis, thanks for joining us. Hey to all you guys over here on Instagram, thanks for joining us as well. If you haven't seen the post on my Facebook page today, the 5th of February is the Chinese New Year, okay? This is going to be the year of the pig coming up, specifically the brown pig, which is connected to Earth, okay? So pay attention for all of those who were born in the year of the pig. These are lucky things for you. The colors that are lucky for the pig are yellow, gray, and brown, and those are all like Earth colors, because it's brown pig with Earth connection. The lucky numbers for pig are 2, 5, and 8. Your mineral for this year is agate, and the direction for wealth is northeast, and the direction for love is north. So I hope you guys get to celebrate the Chinese New Year. So let's talk about lucky foods and lucky drinks for the Chinese New Year. Lucky foods are going to be spring rolls, any kind of dumplings, noodle dishes. The ones that are highest in wealth for this year are lobster and shrimp noodles. So if you know how to make noodles, or you just want to make noodles at home, lobster or shrimp noodles bring in the most amount of wealth for 2019. Also, steamed fish or steamed chicken dishes are really lucky for Chinese New Year, and the traditional rice cakes. Yes, Melissa says Magical Monday. Absolutely, guys. Hey to Angela over here on Instagram. Now, lucky drinks for Chinese New Year are Chinese white wine, Su wine, Jiao wine, and one reference I pulled up actually listed Sing Pao as a lucky drink for the new year for 2019. So I found that was very interesting. For tonight's content, if you have any questions, please put them in the comments. I also want to get you guys up to date on things that are going on the burner for me for right now. And I want to ask you to go ahead and hit the share button on your screen and share this out in your news feed for your friends and your family. This is some awesome information tonight. It may be a little bit dry. I'll try to make it as entertaining as possible. But what's on the burner right now is there is a YouTube channel called Slapped Ham, and I will put the link in the comments after the show. And one of my videos is going to be featured on their channel in an upcoming episode here pretty soon. So I invite you to subscribe to their channel and watch the videos, and you will probably see my video come up in one of their shows. And I'm really excited about that because I love Slapped Ham. It's like a countdown video show of like 10 most haunted or 10 scariest, but I really like the content on Slapped Ham, so that's why I sent them my video, and they're going to put it on. So that got me a little bit stoked. But now let's get into our content for tonight. Let me check to make sure there's no questions on here so far. Hey to Amanda, Janice, Paula, Jen, Peggy. Hey, Peggy. Hope things are going well for you. Hey, Ron, Kathy, Robert, my cooking dad, Robert. Awesome to see you here, Crystal and Katie. So tonight's episode is about the Fibonacci sequence and the golden ratio. Have any of you heard of that or investigated it or learned about it? Just put it in the comments. Let me know. I would like to know how many of you have any previous knowledge about this. Now, so what we're going to go into is it's a little bit deep. I'm not going to get into the mathematics of it because, frankly, I'm not that good at mathematics. And to try to explain it, I would just butcher it and make a mess. So what we're starting with, and I don't want you to confuse this with pi. Pi and phi are two different things. Phi is the golden ratio and pi is the circle, okay? Now, phi is one step further than pi because what you're starting with is a single point in space-time, okay? It's divided into two vibrations, 2 points, and the rotation of these creates pi, which is the circle, and that's 3.1415925. Now we take this a step further for the golden ratio in that it's not confined to the circle. It is increasing, and once the circle goes around, it increases in sequence and creates a spiral at that point. That's phi, or the golden ratio, which is 1.618034. So Robert says we use Fibonacci in engineering development. Absolutely, Robert. You absolutely have to because it's structured order. Katie says, I know it was a recurring pattern in all of nature. Fibonacci sequence and the golden ratio are both related to the pattern in nature, and we'll go over that. So the golden ratio is also known as the golden mean or the golden section or divine proportion. And it exists when a line is divided into two parts, okay, and the longer part is divided by the smaller part, and it's equal to the sum of both parts, and that's equal to 1.618034. So this has to do with the Fibonacci sequence. So there's an order. What I wanted to get at tonight is there's an order to the creation of life or the sequence pattern, increasing energy or size, and to kind of see how that relates to your whole life as you grow from a child into an adult. The sequence is increasing, the pattern is increasing, and at some point this sequence is turned off in nature. Not only in nature, but in yourself in nature. At some point the sequence is turned off and you begin diminishing, decreasing, or retracting, not only physically but in your energy as well. Some of the things the golden ratio is used in, Plato used it in the design for the Parthenon, the pyramids of Egypt, the construction includes the golden ratio. Some other things that I was not aware of that the golden ratio was found in, classical music, such creations by Debussy, Bach, Mozart, paintings by Da Vinci and Dali were done with the golden ratio in mind. Your DNA sequencing, the helical proportions are per the golden ratio, which that really surprised me because I was not aware that our DNA followed that ratio as well. Another thing I wasn't aware of was that certain honeybees live according to the ratio, the golden ratio of one male per 1.618 females, bees. That was really, really interesting. Hurricanes are proportioned by the golden ratio, and so are spiral galaxies. So let me check for any questions here. Hey to Christine and Paige, and hey to all you guys over here on Instagram, Trina and Ada Dawn and Imala. How are you guys this evening? Okay, now the Fibonacci numbers are also associated with the golden ratio. And what are Fibonacci numbers? Fibonacci numbers are numbers that, it's a series of numbers which the first number and the second number equal the third number, and so on and so on. And I'm going to show you this. 0 and 1 is 1, 1 and 2 is 3, 2 and 3 is 5, 3 and 5 is 8, 5 and 8 is 13, 8 and 13 are 21, 13 and 21 are 34, and so on and so on. So this sequence of the numbers, the next number adding up is the Fibonacci sequence. And so these sequences make spirals in nature, and this is the golden ratio, and then this is the Fibonacci sequence that makes up the nautilus shell. And then Da Vinci used the Fibonacci sequence in sectioning off and ratioing man here, and the golden ratio here. It's kind of complicated, but this is going to fit together neatly when we talk about it as it occurs in nature. And it all has to do with this spiral type of vibration, or the spiral energy. So I wanted to break down the word sequence as well. A sequence is events, movements, or things that follow each other. A set of related events, movements, or things that follow each other in a particular order. Just like these things are increasing in a particular order. And you can look at this as squares in a rectangle, or you can look at it as this spiral in nature. But they're all increasing in a particular order. The golden spiral, which is, you know, what that is, also often emerges both in Romesco broccoli and the shell of the nautilus, which is what we were talking about. It follows a regular spiral structure. In the spiral's radius by the golden proportion, every 90 degrees increases. The shell of the nautilus in particular can be better described as having a spiral that expands by the golden ratio every 180 degrees. Now, one of the reasons why is plants want to maximize the exposure of their leaves to the sun. Ideally, they need to grow them at a non-repeating angle. Having an irrational value guarantees this, so that the spirals that we see in nature are a consequence of this behavior. All of these distributions follow logarithmic spirals, the general mathematic form of a golden spiral. So, like I said, it's a little complicated, but this is a real efficiency in nature that the plants in nature want to do this with the least amount of expenditure of energy for the maximum result. And the simplest way to do this is by, you know, a set of DNA simple instructions like first grow and then turn a certain angle and then grow again. So it's like programmed into the structure of the plant to repeat, to grow in a certain pattern or certain way, and in a sequence. Mathematically, this is better described as fractals. We're not going to get into fractals, but repetitive patterns that can end up producing logarithmic spirals. Now, see, I said it okay that time. It is also important to remember that from the point of view of physics, spirals are low energy configurations. So math really is the language of the universe. And didn't Tesla say that? In one of his quotes, 3, 6, and 9, he said were the keys to the universe. And I had read something about Tesla where he, when he did things, he did it kind of obsessively in 3s or 6s or 9s sequence. So he really, really believed that. So math really is the language of the universe, and it's a very efficient language as well. Now, the interesting thing about the numbers of the Fibonacci sequence, and Robert's listed those for us there, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 20, and so on. If you take the Fibonacci numbers, and like 3 divided by 2 is 1.5, as you increase dividing the Fibonacci numbers, you're going to get closer and closer to the golden ratio of 1.6180. In fact, as you increase on your Fibonacci numbers, let's say 233 divided by 144, which are both Fibonacci numbers, equals 1.6180, which is the golden ratio. Now, when you start lower down, like 5 divided by 3, it's 1.666. which is not quite at the golden ratio. So it's not a perfect ratio, not a perfect proportion. But as you increase in your Fibonacci numbers, the golden ratio shows up more. So I thought that was really quite interesting too. But let's look at nature. Fibonacci numbers and the golden ratio appear in nature a lot, like the seed pods, seed heads, pine cones, fruits, vegetables, anything that has a helical or spiral pattern. If you were to count those spirals, you would certainly get probably a Fibonacci number. Now, not all plants follow this, but there are quite a few in nature that do. So you can decipher the spiral patterns in pine cones, pineapples, cauliflower, broccoli, that also represent the Fibonacci sequence in this manner. Now, flowers and branches also go by the golden ratio and Fibonacci numbers. Some plants express the Fibonacci sequence in their growth points, and this was evident especially in trees. The places where a tree branch forms a split, one trunk grows until a branch results in 2 growth points. And then the main trunk produces another branch resulting in 3 growth points. Then the trunk and the first branch produce 2 more growth points, bringing it to a total of 5. So classically, trees grow in the golden ratio or Fibonacci sequence, which that was really interesting for me to see as well. So this continues on, especially in flowers, in the way of petals on the flower. You'll often find the total to be one of the numbers of the Fibonacci sequence. For example, lilies and irises have 3 petals. Buttercups and wild roses have 5. Delphiniums have 8 petals, and so on. So nature is programmed into this golden ratio. Our DNA is programmed into this golden ratio. So I think it represents a vibration, like the vibration of the universe is what I feel. And it is part of how we're all alike and how we're all similar and how we tap into each other's energy I think that has a big thing to do with the golden ratio and Fibonacci numbers. So any questions on all this? Let me check to see if we have any questions on this. Hey to Robin and Pamela and Daniel Baker and Megan and Nancy and Dave and Rhonda. And hey to Barbara Bacon. Are you in Tucson yet, Barbara? Barbara Bacon has a shop here in Lexington. It's called Crystal Crazy. Wonderful, wonderful gemstones. I'm so jealous she's going to the Tucson Gem and Mineral Show. I don't know if she's down there right now. Maybe she'll holler back at us and let us know if she's in the middle of some awesome gemstones. If you want to know more about the golden ratio and Fibonacci sequence, I really recommend that you look up some YouTube videos are probably the best way to try to understand it, because they break it down very simplistically, and I kind of needed that. But also there were a lot of good videos on sacred geometry too, which were really good. And this kind of leads into sacred geometry and crystals. And Barbara, you may be interested in that. You probably know a lot about sacred geometry, but the sacred geometry has to do with the vibration of the universe, how we're all connected, how it all works. I think it starts with this single point in the first dimension that's divided. It's in a circle, and then it expands to the spiral and goes on from there in our vibration. Now, next week, we are revisiting black-eyed children. I'm going to do a new episode on black-eyed children, and there's going to be some new research in there. So stay tuned for that. We're not doing What's for Dinner, David, tonight, because I actually cooked earlier. I made a tuna and potato chip casserole, and David is upstairs luxuriously enjoying that now, so he's not going to be disturbed. And let's see, Robert says, I just ordered a Nautilus cutaway, so cool. Awesome. I absolutely love the Nautilus shell, and I think it is the perfect representation of the golden ratio. Now, there is a book, before I cut off for the evening, there is a book that we're going to go over sometime soon, probably this spring. It's called The Golden Bough. I don't know if any of you guys have heard of that, but it's a really old text, and it has a lot of the beginnings of magic and folklore that was collected by several people, and it was put into one book. And it's so interesting to go back and look at all that information. Hey to Carrie. But next week, we're going to revisit black-eyed children. That's one of David's favorite topics. So you may want to study up a little bit on it before you come on to Monday night, because you may want to have some questions on that. Share button on this, share this out in your feed. I appreciate all of you guys joining me this evening for this topic. It's like I said, it's a little dry. I tried to make it as entertaining as possible, but next week's definitely going to be entertaining, because black-eyed children is always a favorite. Kisses from Kentucky, and I'll see you next Monday for another episode. Bye, guys.